chat rooms. It was a big thing for millennials like me. I mean, who wouldn't want to spend all day at school being surrounded by people and then disconnecting from it briefly during the car ride or walk home, only to reconnect through the computer? Thank God for MSN Messenger. Some of you may be breaking a sweat while flipping through your acronym dictionaries or Googling it, trying to find out what the heck MSN stands for. It's basically an ancient form of instant messaging, where you can add or block friends, personalize your own name, design it using icons, symbols, and funky letters. Oh yes, and the basic of emojis. Also, each time a contact would sign in, a little notification or MSN buddy would pop up, letting you know. It was a perfect space to stalk your crush and spend hours either just signed in for no reason at all or chatting while trying to fool your parents into thinking you were doing homework. Too bad Microsoft got rid of MSN, which momentarily ruined some of our lives. But that's a whole other story. If the description of MSN is starting to sound familiar to some of the apps you use on your phone, you're right. It's similar to BlackBerry Messenger, WhatsApp, Viber, and the list goes on. Now that I've given a brief history lesson, let me dive right into the significance of MSN Messenger in my life back in the day and the time it had become my biggest enemy. I'll admit it. I've always been the kid that would copy down the assignments into my agenda and then call a few peers after school just to verify if I had written down due dates correctly. But with MSN, I could totally bypass the process of having the mom or dad pick up the phone and asking how they are before politely asking permission to speak to their kid. What I also loved most about MSN was the fact that no one spoke using correct grammar. I mean, we would take sentences and just simplify them. For example, BRB was be right back, LOL, laughing out loud, TTYL, talk to you later. I'm sure you get the point. My favorite was adding Z's to the end of words, like what's up became was up, and D's to the beginning of words like that became dat. Yup, I thought I was super cool. I wasn't the only one using slang. It was all of my peers. It just felt like the normal thing to do, you know? If our teachers somehow found out that we were interacting online, they would probably be so concerned and give us punctuation, spelling, and all kinds of take-home worksheets to complete. April was a month of rainfall, and lots of it. It's as if you went to school dry and came back with muddy jeans, wet socks, and hair. Some parents must have thought their kids spent the day wrestling a pig. I remember running to class one morning because the second bell was about to go off, which would mean I'd be marked late. After opening the door to the room, I could see everyone already at their desks with their heads turned in my direction. It felt like a herd of seagulls were watching me as if I was some type of food. My teacher asked me to take my seat as he was about to hand out the first assignment of the day. I'll be honest, my teacher reminded me a lot like Mr. Ratburn from the children's show Arthur. Not in the way of his appearance, of course, but by how much homework he gave out every day. Anyway, as I made my way to my desk, because my shoes were still wet from being outside, it made a squeaking sound on the floor. Really awkward. My teacher decided that since we were studying ancient Egypt, creating a class project would be helpful in preparing for the test. He would place all different topics such as Upper Egypt, gods, goddesses, the Nile, into a hat and randomly pair students up who have never worked together, so we could learn and prepare ourselves on what it's like to be in the real world when we have to collaborate with others whose work ethic we know nothing about. I thought that was a pretty awesome idea. Besides, I always loved to meet new people and make friendly conversations. It's a trait that I definitely inherited from my dad. My name was finally called out, and my partner was Ingrid Desange. Our topic? The Three Kingdoms of Ancient Egypt. I gave Ingrid a warm smile from across the room, and she gave me a wave back. I never really spoke to her before, except when we compared grades. Most of the time, we got the same marks on tests and quizzes. I felt that our topic required lots of research, colorful graphics, maybe even a map. I kind of knew I wouldn't run into any trouble with Ingrid, because it seemed we shared the same mindset of working hard, and maybe along the way, we could be best of friends. Ingrid and I went to the local library and split up the project into even parts. We were going to gather information, write our reports, and then organize them into one document. Before we left, we exchanged our MSN contacts and chose Friday evening to meet online. I won't lie, I was excited. Ingrid had this fun energy about her. Friday night came around, and I logged on to MSN. I could see Ingrid's icon was set to away. Maybe she was still finishing up dinner. I waited a couple of minutes and saw her status change to online. Great, I thought. We could finally finish up this assignment. So I just stared at the screen until my eyes went blurry. I know what you're thinking. Susanna, what a nerd. By the time I looked back at the clock, 15 minutes had gone by. Does she even know I'm online? Maybe my status is set to invisible. Nope. It was bright green, which meant I was definitely available. Then the weirdest thing happened. Ingrid kept signing in and out of MSN every 30 seconds. The only thing I could think of was her connection was probably messed up. So I went to go grab a bowl of cereal. By the time I came back to my computer, I could see Ingrid was on. I didn't receive any messages from her. And by this time, I was tired and just wanted to go watch some reruns on YTV and call it a night. I decided it was time to stop playing the waiting game and send Ingrid the very first message. I wrote, "Hey, you ready to finalize the project?" She was quick to respond, saying, "Oh, hey Susanna, didn't see you were online. Yep. Let's do this." Wait, how did she not notice that I was online? It's not like she has millions of contacts, and even if she did, Ingrid was well aware we were working on the project tonight. Wouldn't she have just searched me on her list? At that point, I just let the situation go and said, "Cool, send me your files, I'll place them in order, save it, and transfer a copy back to you." So before I get into what happened next, I'll explain that everything I was typing wasn't in perfect sentences or grammar. It did have letters missing from words, but everything I was trying to convey was understandable. Like I said before, in instant messaging, the shorter the sentences, the better, because people are obviously engaging in multiple conversations. Also, might I add, there's no spelling and punctuation police interfering and issuing people a ticket for just writing the letter U instead of the full word YOU. Here's what Ingrid responded back to me with, and that is what sent an electricity of confusion through my body. "Susanna, why do you talk like that?" To which I replied, "What do you mean?" She asked me why my sentence structure wasn't correct and how my overall grades were in language arts. Hold up. Did she think I was actually bad at English? I told her that no one really speaks correctly on MSN, ever, and I guess slang was a way in which people could get a break from being all proper and stuff in school 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Then I added an LOL at the end. For some reason, Ingrid didn't seem to let it go. Seriously, she went on saying if I ever needed extra help, she wouldn't mind tutoring me and even suggested that I speak with the teacher about possible ESL classes. What the F? Language arts was my best subject. I was a bookworm. Heck, I even went to the library to read for fun. My essays, journals, and stories received no less than an A. At this point, I was pretty pissed, and disappointed in the way Ingrid was acting. In the beginning, I saw someone who was intelligent and sweet, but under it all, she was nothing but a mean girl. I quickly emailed her a copy of the project and told her I'll see her on Monday. I spent a majority of my weekend in my room, upset about the whole Ingrid fiasco. I asked myself so many questions. Like, what would drive a person to behave the way she did with me? Should I have stood up for myself? This was just so frustrating. Sunday night, I put my cue cards together and practiced for the presentation without Ingrid. I believe she had called my house twice to set up a rehearsal time, but I wasn't in the mood to see her, so I told my parents to tell her I could meet her before class on Monday morning. Little did I know, nothing could prepare me enough for the events that were about to unfold tomorrow. The next day, Ingrid and I met by the intermediate playground. We went over our presentation twice. I guess she knew there was some tension between us because, in her opinion, I wasn't being my bubbly self. She then went on this whole tangent on how she was looking out for me and I shouldn't take offense. As we made our way to the class door, Ingrid put a hand on my shoulder and said, "No hard feelings, okay?" For some reason, even her apology seemed insincere. Ingrid and I ended up being the last to present. As I walked up to the front of the room, I felt a strange vibe. People were mumbling something. I tried to make it out, but it was too hard, until someone fake coughed it out. ESL. That's when it clicked. Ingrid told people about our conversation from Friday night. My hands started trembling as I read the title of our project. My face was turning red. I have no clue how I managed to make it through the presentation, but I did. At the same time, on the inside, I was feeling angry and humiliated. The ESL joke lasted a few days more, and the rumor has spread to a few other grades, because students were approaching me and asking if what they heard from so-and-so about me was true. This was getting out of hand. My intention was not to get any teachers involved, especially after my last conflict with girls who had bullied me. I wanted it to be different this time, and definitely drama-free. It was 37 degrees that day, and very hot. The principal had made an announcement on the PA system saying that the students had a choice to stay inside or go outside for some fresh air. I thought it was a perfect chance to have that talk with Ingrid. I went to her desk and saw her reading the novel, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Without even waiting for her to look up and notice me, I asked her why she would betray me like that. What gave her the right to bring me down? My voice turned from a whisper into a louder, stern tone, which reached the teacher's desk. He sent us out into the hall and then joined us a couple minutes later. I really didn't want to put Ingrid under the bus, so I stayed silent. I guess guilt got to the best of her, and she admitted what she had done, but then burst out crying, saying that she had a reason behind it. Basically, other students were making fun of her long braided hair and called her names like fresh off the boat and immigrant, making comments that she smelled bad. She was being teased and thought if she got someone else, students could make fun of that person and she would get a break. Okay, I did sympathize with Ingrid. I know what it's like to be bullied, but not once did I think to get back to those who hurt me or even go out and find someone to hurt, just to take the heat off myself. Our teacher gave a lesson on cyberbullying. I didn't even know that was a thing. It was actually becoming more common and the easier approach in harassing someone. He also added that whether or not I was passing or failing language arts, it wasn't Ingrid's business or decision to spread the word. For what Ingrid did, she faced a minor consequence. From what I remember, it was writing a report on the effects of cyberbullying and writing an apology letter to me. Maybe those consequences, however small, changed Ingrid's perspective to think better next time and never attempt to be a bully. And maybe she didn't learn anything at all. However, today in this podcast, I want to address those online bullies. Number 1, you guys can say some really vile things in chat rooms and can cause an innocent person to hurt. But in reality, the only power you have is behind a screen. What happens when your victim doesn't respond back to you or chooses to block you? Ding, ding, ding. Again, you become powerless. Number 2, to those face-to-face bullies who also make their presence known online, do you not have any ambitions or goals? Do you even have a social life? How about family or friends you can bother? How have your fingers not fallen off from typing insults? You're online so much. When was the last time you took a shower? Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating with that last question. Even bullies have a chance to change, only if they want to. To those who have to suffer every day and deal with these bullies, I want you to know that in order to put the verbal abuse to an end, the first steps start with you. Speak out, whether it's to a sibling, friend, teacher, or boss. They can guide you or find someone who can help. Any kind of bullying is never excusable. By discussing it, you not only are exposing the bullies for who they really are, and that's something that they hate, but you're doing service to yourself and to someone else who might also be a potential target. No matter what the circumstances are, no one should resort to being a bully, and no one deserves to be a victim. With that said, for those of you listening to this podcast and to every single person, living creature in this world, you all possess unique qualities and differences, which makes you very special. You all have the right to live in this world, to love, and to be happy. And no one should feel superior enough to take that away from you. And that is a wrap. If you haven't heard the very first podcast to my Dear Superstar series, what are you waiting for? Go check it out. And keep a lookout for episode 3. Much love from me to you. Mwah. Miss Bollywood, out.